Alafia to the fam. It's your people's Babalawo, Esuwale Adigun, also known as King Brujo, and I'm back with another video for these spiritual streets, man. So we're gonna talk about something, man. And this is something that we commonly see playing out in the world. All right. So as us that are a part of these African traditional spiritual systems, African spirituality, we know that there's things that go on that the public does not see, but we know very well what's taking place. All right. So with that being said, the situation with Cardi B and Offset. All right. Now y'all know I like to use situations that people can relate to create teachable moments. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to meet people where they are and where they can understand something. You get me? Uh, this situation with Cardi B and Offset, we seeing it playing out in the public eye, which nobody really likes to see family feuding publicly, right? But it's happening, okay? And now it's got to a point where it's crash out season, right? So Cardi B is crashing out. Offset been semi crashing out, but he's more crashing out behind the scenes, right? And he's doing things behind the scenes that we can equate to crashing out. Cardi B is just full out crashing out. She don't care if it's behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. She's on tilt right now, right? Now, why is this a topic within African spirituality? Because our sister Cardi B is a part of a couple traditions, all right? So Cardi B came from a Dominican 21 divisions background, but she is also a person who practices Lukumi, all right? So there's plenty of lives where you will see her with Ileke on, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. So, you know, a lot of people, let me pull up the picture. A lot of people know this picture. As you see, there's Cardi B back in the day. As you can tell, this is an old picture. And you see right here, Santos, and you see an offering. All right. So this is what this is. This is 21 divisions that you're looking at. From a real Dominican. This is all important, y'all. This is all important. Very important. Why is this important? Because Offset, if you don't have a competent Babalawo or somebody along those lines, you need to pump your brakes, brother. This is what I'm telling you, Offset. And I'm gonna break it down for the people who don't understand how spirituality works in the context of relationships. Offset, do yourself a favor. Pump your brakes. All right? Let that, yo, whatever it is, what Cardi is doing, you gotta let her go through her progressions, dog. You can't be behind the scenes talking about you're gonna take her for spousal support and all this other stuff. Because there's gonna be consequences behind that. All right? And this is the thing. In the context of unions, in relationships, the way that spirits move can be very aggressive. All right? In relationships, there's always situations that we don't know about that happen behind the scenes, you know? So, for instance, right now, we seeing Cardi B stepping out with Stefan Diggs, who likely is no better than Offset, right? We heard rumors back in it, you know, a little bit back about, you know, maybe she may have stepped out on him while she was pregnant. All right, we've done heard things. But we've also heard whispers of the things Offset was doing. In the context of spirituality, in particular African spirituality, the spirits will hold court. Okay? The spirits will hold court and they will judge. And this court don't have anything to do with us as mortal beings. You know, those of us who are tuning in, spirit ain't weighing y'all opinions in on this. Those Loa and Orishas that Cardi is connected to are the ones who are going to hold court. So, knowing that, it's not wise to poke that bear. You understand? Whether you feel like you were wrong or right, because Offset can feel justified. He can feel justified in going for his spousal support, but how is it going to register to those divinities, right? Those divinities that you married into when you married Cardi B. This is the part where people be forgetting with spiritual relationships. When you marry a person that is in an African traditional religion, you also marry the divinities in which they serve. Facts. So I'm going to say a part again for those who may have missed it. Offset. If you do not have a competent Babalawo, Ungan, Parlero, abort mission, brother. Let that woman go about her business and let the divorce be smooth. Because if you keep dragging it out, now you're going to be in violation of the same divinities that you married into. And I always tell y'all this before this stuff starts happening. I don't know how many times that I done came on this YouTube and then told y'all about spiritual violations. Go back through my old videos when I told you what was going to happen to Diddy before it happened. When I told you what was going to happen to certain creators before it happened. Go back. I'm a child of Eshu. I blow the whistle. So what I'm saying is, don't be surprised if Offset continues in the manner that he is now and you see him have a major fall off. Don't be surprised. Because this is how this thing go. You marry Cardi B, you married those spirits in 21 divisions, you married those spirits in Lukumi. Period. Ain't nothing else. Then you had children with her. So how it looks is now a person who may have been doing very bad things behind the scene, where now Cardi is being fed up with that. And now you're continuing to poke the bear by stuff like spousal support. It's bad enough that whatever happened for this woman to get to this point happened. And those things will have to be dealt with, not from our realm, from a spiritual realm. And we don't even know what that's going to look like yet. People dig their self in bigger holes when they don't need to. I've had personal experience with things like this where I've dated individuals who did not understand, even though they were told. When you marry me in this way of a union, you marrying these spirits. If you violate those things, there's going to be very negative things that occur. If I violate those things, knowing that I made agreements with these spirits, there will be negative things that occur. Right? This is how it is in African spirituality. This ain't just no, you said some vows. You blooded in with divinities. Like de sangre. You blooded in. And I've seen how things played out. Because it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to live it. When something that you can't see is fighting you. It's very scary. And things happen and you can't pray it away. And then you try to do little rituals yourself, maybe that might combat it and it doesn't work. And you might go to certain priests, but because of the nature of the violation, it's only but so effective. And your world just drowns and drowns and drowns. And then you lose things that you love, people that you love, all type of stuff goes crazy. Elders in the Americas used to warn about dating like women from New Orleans and stuff. They said they'll put a root on you, right? That was a thing. They said, oh, them that woman will put a root on you, right? It's not just a person putting a root on you. When you marry an individual and you violate that contract, you put the root on yourself. When you marry an individual and you vow to be with them and be committed to them, and you violate those things, you will put the root on yourself. Nobody has to put root on you. No, Cardi doesn't have to take this to no altar. Okay? She doesn't have to. The altar has been set already. The divinities are already calculating the offenses on both sides because Offset is not the only one. Anything that Cardi did in the midst of that or continues to do, she will also have to atone for. Divinities hold everybody accountable. Okay? It could even be your head Orisha, and your head Orisha will hold you accountable. This is how this goes. And this is why it's just a sad situation. You know, that, it would be better if they could find a middle ground to try to fix it. But it seems as though things may have gone too far, right? Um, but don't be surprised if you ever see them get back together because sometimes it happens that way. You don't know whose Egbe or whose Egungun is pulling on the relationship one way or the other. You don't know other factors spiritually that can occur that will drag one or the other back into the where you thought you was going. Spirits do that. Oh, you thought this was finished? It's not, and they will drag you back into that relationship for whatever reason it may be. And this is why we have to be wise when we choose our partners and when we enter into these agreements to be in relationships because there's nothing light about it. African spirituality is very heavy. It is the heaviest type of religious culture that you can be in because everything is merged in blood and everything is buried in egungun ancestors. Ancestors live in your bone marrow. It's deep. You can't just jump in and jump out. When you marry people in these traditions, you need to be prepared to go through whatever it is in that relationship that you need to go through in order for it to work in the end. And this is why it's important that from the beginning, you set a foundation of this spirituality, whichever practice it is that you are. You might be into Ifa, you might be into Palo Mayombe, Haitian Voodoo. Okay, you might be a person that's into Santeria or Lukumi. It's important that from the beginning, the foundation of it spiritually is laid out so that both are involved spiritually. So that from the beginning, those divinities that live in that relationship because of both of their spiritual DNA are able to have influence within that relationship and act as a judge in that relationship. When you have the divination that comes with Ifa in a union, that divination is the equalizer. It does not matter who's right or wrong. It matters what the divinity says. If a couple is arguing, right? The husband may feel he's right and the wife may feel she's right. It doesn't matter which one is right. What matters is who Orumila said needs to work on their character. Because just because you're right and can win an argument doesn't mean the relationship is going to get better. It's not about winning an argument. It's about coming to an understanding so that that argument doesn't occur again. You see? It's a big difference. You're not trying to win a fight. You're trying to gain an understanding. And that understanding will create longevity within that union. Because why? It is the divinity that is at the center of it. It is that divinity, that Orisha, that Loa, that's at the center, that's holding court, that's being the judge. When two people's egos want to pull one way and one pull the other way. And Ifa said, no, you need to work on your character, even though that person wronged you. Because your reaction is not warranted in that way, or that reaction is not going to fix it, or you winning this argument is not going to make it better. But you exercising humility and understanding is what will make this not even occur again with this dispute. This is the wisdom that you have to find within these traditional religions. And when you come into them, be prepared that you're merging spiritually. Ain't just vows, you're spiritually merging with people. If this person is a child of Yemuja and they marry this person who's not into the culture, they're just a muggle, is Yemuja not holding court in that relationship? Is Yemuja not going to cover that person? Of course she's going to cover that person. They married in to her daughter. You see? So now imagine if you do her daughter dirty or you start breaking aspects of the union. How do you think Yemuja is going to act? She about to tear it up. Somebody going to get dragged all through there. This is the reality of these things. And people tend to not understand the magnitude of relationships that they get into because in today's age everything seems microwavable, like you can just pop in and out, like you can just put a relationship in a microwave, press a button and then end it when you feel like it. No, relationships that are not destined will not last. They will crumble and they will suffer both of the people a part of it. Relationships that are destined have the opportunity and the blessing to be able to work past any obstacles in their way. But the flip side of that is relationships that are destined, when people try to treat them like a microwave, will hold you to that relationship and tear you up because you're trying to rip the union apart. That is destiny. Be wise. Be like Obatala. Obatala is a, 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 a model for how family leadership should look like. You know? Be like Obatala. Handle problems with decorum. If you have irreconciled differences and y'all just can't fix it, make that split as peaceful as possible. All right? Don't be petty because your petty cannot compare to the wrath of that divinity. It's nowhere close. And when it hits the fan, remember I said, when it hits the fan, you start to see people get extra religious now. Start trying to run back to Jesus, start trying to run back to Allah and whoever else that they feel comforted to do. Because it gets real in African spirituality. This is not a game. This is not play. You don't waste people's time. Because in wasting their time, you're wasting the divinity's time. I'm a child of Eshu. If a woman wastes my time, she wastes Eshu's time. And Eshu doesn't stand for his time to be wasted. When you waste Eshu's time, he will make sure you pay for wasting his time. And you don't want to pay that price. These are things that have to be known before you step into unions so that everybody can make sound decisions on where they want to go with it. Flip side of African spiritual relationships is when you are in harmony, they bring a lot of blessings because the divinities are powerful. You can achieve everything. You can conquer the world together because you can see couples who have done that. Beyonce and Jay-Z is a perfect example. Jay-Z being a child of Shango, Beyonce being a child of Oshun. You can conquer anything. You can rise above the world. You can run it, but you have to put the divinities first. I believe it was on the 4-4 album when Jay said, I told my wife the spiritual really work. You know, he got put on game and he realized that following the divinities is the only way to go in the context of your family. Remember, just before that, Beyonce had dropped Lemonade and was talking about the problems. Well, obviously, they worked through those things with the help of the divinities. When you honor those divinities together as a family, there is nothing that you can't take on. Anything in life you can conquer, you can be great, you can have everything, you can be rich in spirit, mind, and money. And the divinities will keep giving it to you because we don't make poverty vows in African spirituality. So that's just my words of wisdom to the fam, y'all. You know, why it's gonna be interesting. I hope that it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, but I hope that Offset has wisdom to at least have a Babalawo or a priest of another tradition to cover him with protection if he's gonna be doing nonsense. But even with that, he has to realize that those divinities that you married into are still gonna hold court. Don't make it worse on yourself, brother. Have wisdom or Dabo family.